On behalf of the North Reading Community Impact Team, I'd like to welcome all of you to our second annual breakfast update in recognition of 3 individuals who made an impact in the community in 2013. My name is Amy Lekowitz. I'm the North Reading Youth Services Director, and it's a pleasure for me to be here with you. This is my first CIT breakfast. I'd like to invite Bob Musseri, Selectman Bob Musseri, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you mind remaining standing? And I'd like to invite Peter Majane from North Reading Rotary to lead us in the invocation.
Good morning, everyone. God bless this food, all the great people that are here. I'm also very proud of this group that's here today. You're all leaders and humanitarians, and I hope that God blesses all of you and your families. Thank you.
Please take a seat. And again, please continue to eat. Plenty of more food out there. Lots of food. Pat has reported there's lots of food. I'd like to take this opportunity for our team to acknowledge and publicly thank all the volunteers who helped this team strive to meet its mission. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to acknowledge some of our community leaders in attendance. Selectmen Mike Prisco and Bob Musseri. State Representative Brad Jones. State Senator Bruce Tarr. From Senator Tarr's office, Barry Craig. And I just let everybody know that both Senator Tarr and Representative Jones have supported our team since the inception and played a critical role in our team obtaining state grants, so thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge the members of the North Reading Community Impact Team that drives our actions on a regular basis. And you're going to learn about all the efforts that we've gone through this past year in just a few minutes. Selectman Bob Musseri, Superintendent of North Reading Public Schools, Kathleen Willis, Director of Elder Services, Mary Prenny, Parks and Recreation Board Member, Rhea Muller, Police Chief Mike Murphy and Fire Chief Billy Warnock were not able to be here this morning for other reasons, but they are also on our steering committee as well as myself. Okay. I promise not to read to you. That. And I'm going to sit down just so you all can see. Is that all right? Back in March of 2002, we formed the Community Impact Team to focus on innovative, non-traditional methods of impacting crime and the fear of crime. We strive towards cooperative interaction between the community, law enforcement, and town departments. We work to identify factors that have a negative impact on the quality of life for all community members, from our young children to our senior citizens, and to implement solutions that solve the underlying problems. Last May, national subject matter expert and author Shawn Eggington presented her own personal story of her daughter being bullied over social network sites. She also discussed the positive and challenging aspects of social media and tips for managing online access for children. This event was presented for free to anybody who wanted to attend in the community at the North Reading High School, and it was well received. The Community Impact Team also partnered with the Middlesex County Sheriff's Strike 2 program, which provides tours of the Middlesex House of Correction in Billerica for at-risk students and for interested community groups, giving them a real-life look at the consequences of wrong decisions. Students are treated as young adults and engage in discussion about the decision-making process. The program emphasized the importance of accepting responsibility for one's actions. Social Services Action Team also developed and published the North Reading Crisis and Resource Guide. The guide was produced in a booklet format and distributed to town offices and community meeting spots. We also published a more extensive guide on our website. The guide is intended to give members of the community a quick reference guide should they need help or assistance. Knowledge of resources available to our citizens can help lessen the anxiety of a family crisis. A few copies of this are available on everybody's table, and I also put on everybody's table a little business card with our website if you want to get the more extensive version of our resource guide. This is my favorite part since I've been North Reading. In August of 2013, the Community Impact Team hosted our first annual National Night Out. The North Reading Community Impact Team provided an interactive, educational, and fun evening. The focus was on safety, crime prevention, and the power of a vigilant neighborhood. The evening hosted local and state officials, merchants, advocacy groups, and social services providers. This year's event featured over 30 vendors and presenters, including child identification kits by massprotects.org, boating, aquatics, and swim safety in partnership with the Burbank YMCA, emergency disaster planning with FEMA and MEMA education tools, bike safety presentations and bike checks by Safe Routes, identity theft and fraud protection presented by the Federal Trade Commission, internet bullying and internet safety, summer sun protection by the Melanoma Foundation, presentations by Students Against Destructive Decisions. Definitely the most popular part was the State K-9 team and Incident Command Vehicles, which did an outstanding presentation that got everybody's attention. The Safe and Smokehouse, coordinated by the North Reading Fire Department, was a big hit as well. In the previous slide, you saw all the kids were able to put out fires in the smokehouse. And car seat check appointments and information. Also on your table are blinkers, the blue blinkers. We're from National Night Out, and one thing that Community Impact Team, that was one of the give outs at National Night Out, and something that I learned when preparing for a National Night Out is that reflectors are not as effective unless they blink. Who knew? So if you turn your blinker over, there's a little red button and it'll start blinking. And we recommend this for kids who are walking home at night, put it on their backpacks, and also for anybody who might be walking on the streets, especially in the winter when the sidewalks kind of get clogged with snow. So those are for you to take home today. So how do we get our work done? At our formation, we began to develop categories of service areas or action teams. I'd like to call up Kathy Willis and Mary Prenny to introduce their teams.
Well, as Amy just said, it takes a village to do the work that we're doing. And so it was very important for us to figure out as a community impact team how we were going to mobilize the forces in order to get the good work done and to keep the work going. And so as you can see on this particular slide, we set up action teams. And we have action teams that address communications and public relations. Amy chairs that. So each one of the CIT directors chairs one of these action teams. I chair the K-12 Programs and Services Action Team. Mary Prenny is the chair of the Amy is the chair of the Community Youth Organizations Action Team. Mary chairs Social Services Action Team. Public Safety is chaired by both of our chiefs, Chief Murphy and Chief Warnock. And Bob Masseri is the chair of the Business Coalition Action Team. And we spend time meeting with our volunteers to think about how can we improve the quality of life for the citizens of North Reading. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the K-12 Programs and Services Action Team. And I'd like to start by introducing the people that do all the work. They are behind the scenes, and some of them have joined me today. So first I'd like to start with the parents who sit on our team. I'd like to introduce to you Marcy Bailey. Marcy, could you wave to people, please? Marina Trementozzi. Marina. The other two parents that weren't able to be with us today are Marlene Arena and Scott Buckley. We also have middle school principal Catherine O'Connell. Catherine. We're very pleased to have teacher Claudia Brown from the high school, and then again Amy Lukowitz, who sits on every single one of these action teams, sits on ours as well. Amy's just a ball of energy. Thank you, Amy. So as the previous slides referenced, the K-12 Programs and Services Action Team has been very busy since our last annual and first breakfast in April of 2013. Some of the things that we participated in over the last year included the coordination of the student and parent presentation by Sean Edgington. And we also took care of making sure we purchased some of her materials to distribute to members of the community. We conducted a survey to identify topics of what was interest for parents for future speakers. We implemented a youth health survey to students in grades 6 through 12 to help us identify what are some of those issues that our youth are facing in the community and what can we then plan to support intervention prevention. And then we created a soon-to-be-released student-created website for parents about social media sites. As we all know, those of us of a certain age don't come to technology easily, and so some of those how-tos YouTube videos that are posted on the internet that are appropriate can provide that kind of education for us to learn how to use those sites. So that website will soon be released, and we hope it's a great resource, not just for parents, but for our older citizens in town and for our younger children. And we've definitely used the students to go through those, to identify which of those makes sense, and make sure that all the content is appropriate. And then we also supported the purchase of the book Wonder for the middle school students. And this is a great initiative that was brought to us by Principal Kathy O'Connell about this superb book about a young boy who has craniofacial issues with the way he appears. And this book takes us through his life and how he deals with adverse situations and finds positive in what he has to deal with. I encourage you to read it. It's for all ages. If you just Google Wonder, you'll find all of the wonderful ways that this book is being used across this country and across the world. So I encourage you to read it. Those are a few of the things that we're doing. Amy's going to talk about some of the things that we have planned for the future. Again, we're very pleased that you're here today, and I'd like to now bring Mary up to talk a little bit about her action team. Mary?
Don't use the mic when I'm in the senior center. We usually don't have a crowd like this. I want to be able to be heard from everyone. First of all, I want to introduce everyone who's part of our social service team. Sandy Carragher from Christian Community Service. Who's been with us today from Sandwood Services. Debbie Collins from the Burbank Wine Reading. David Speck, who's our community volunteer, but more importantly, IT guru. Thank you. Rich Waller, who's a member of the COA board, and Steve Gardner, our veteran service person, and Peter I want to start by actually taking this time, because I've never really done it before, to thank my COA board, because it's about 4 years ago, we got an idea that we should put together some sort of resource guide, because we are one community, and we all have the same issues, whether it's a grandmother, a student, grandfather, we're all in this life together. So they supported a meeting one time around 4 years ago, invited all the community volunteers who are active in social services, and were able to come up with our wonderful crisis book, so thank you. So that was one wonderful thing that we accomplished this year. We also started a mental health first aid course. Now, a mental health first aid course, we're very proud to offer the mental health first aid course. It was an interactive educational program for adults which introduces participants for unique risk factors and warning signs of mental health problems. As you all know, it's important now. We have all these horrible shootings and events happening, and mental health is a big problem here in the United States. So we're offering this course not only to people in the community who are active in this field, but other community members who may be interested. Unfortunately, our first course was canceled last week, and they were full. So we'll be running our next course on February 28th, and we'll be running a second course sometime soon. And I'm really happy to say, again, thanks to Amy, we received a grant from MIA to sponsor 2 courses, both for the school people and for adults in the community. So thank you, Amy. So that's what's happening here. I want to say a special thank you both to Rita and Pat Fillmore for cooking and preparing this meal. It's very unusual, because when we heard this crowd was coming and we thought we had to flip pancakes. It's wonderful. Thank you. And I just want to talk about the book Wonder. A few weeks ago, I met with Kathy O'Connell of the middle school. And I'm proud to say this is becoming an intergenerational program. Seniors here are also reading Wonder. We are going to be meeting with the kids up in the middle school every Friday, once a month, and we're going to talk about the book, and we're going to interact, because these are things that are part of the entire community, just not middle school kids. People are unfriendly and not kind when they're senior citizens, so we have lessons to learn for everyone. So I'm very excited about working with this program with Kathy and the kids. So that's about it. Thank you.
I just want to add too, Dave Doucette is on, does all of our website. So thank you, Dave. He's on our PR and public, our communications team, and also Marlene Arena does all of our graphic design. So I wanted to recognize her. And I also want to invite anybody who's in the audience here who feels that any of these action teams speak to them, that if you would like to join us, please do so. On the card is our email, but you can also call me, and I'll stay around after the presentation. You can come speak to me about which action team you might be interested in. We have a busy year coming up. Mary spoke about our mental health first aid, and I just want to reiterate that because of the snow last week, we do have some openings for the upcoming course, and that's on your orange pieces of paper on your tables there. The dates, we have an additional adult and youth course coming up in the spring. So if that's something that you're interested in, that is a gift from the CIT to you. So we would like to invite you to sign up for that. So let's see, 2014. Some of our projects are short-term donations, similar to the book donations. The Wonder is a little bit more long-term project where we coordinate that with the seniors. I also go for book readings in the middle school. But others that are long-term are things like the Family Nurturing Program and Talk About Touching Program. And I just want to say one brief thing about the Talk About Touching Program. This is a curriculum that is science-based. It is about touching safety as just one other form of safety. We talk to kids about fire safety, about crossing the street. We talk to them about bike helmets. We don't talk to them about it's okay to say no if you feel uncomfortable. So that is the Talk About Touching Safety course. What I love about this is that I've trained in it. I'm a facilitator, but I've also seen the impact of this curriculum. And in my 5 years of training young kids and Talk About Touching, I've had 3 disclosures where children have come up to me and said, I think something's wrong. If we could save one kid, that's good enough for me. And that program is being offered in conjunction with the Flint Memorial Library. If you're interested in that course, I recommend that you contact the library because we're setting up those dates right now for young children. The action teams have also identified some key areas for us, and we've set out program objectives based on feedback. So Kathy Willis mentioned that we do surveys. This is something that is continuing, and if you feel that there's something in our community that needs to be addressed, I encourage everybody again to talk to us and let us use grant money to help put that program into place. I mentioned before that Representative Jones and Senator Tarr helped us secure our initial grant, but they also helped us secure a $25,000 child safety grant. And I'm very happy to let everybody know that we are now seeking federal funds to continue our community impact team moving forward. That's going to be a very large grant and very competitive grant. So everybody cross their fingers for us. And I just want to again thank all the community impact team leaders who we meet monthly actually, to discuss this, and all of the action team members who meet on a much more regular basis, electronically certainly. And if we can give everybody a round of applause one more time. And now, while we're waiting for, I wanted to call up Kathy Willis, Mary Prunny, and Sandy Carrickers to give out our Good Neighbor Awards.
Well, I'm pleased to be here. I represent Christian Community Service in the North Reading Food Pantry. I'm a newbie. I've only been doing it for about 8 years. The Christian Community Service started in the 70s, and Marsha Larson, who is here today to be honored, was a part of that. But even more than that, she and her husband Ted had the vision to understand that a charity needed to be a 501(c) in order to be able to receive money and donations that would be tax deductible and that would make a huge difference in matching funds, and that vision was what made us what we are today. And we just cannot thank Marsha enough and Ted for the work that they did. It was visionary, I guess is the best word, to know that this town needed this kind of resource. In the 70s, Christian Community Service was only available to help with financial assistance. And then the post office decided that they would do a national food drive. And all of you probably know that your postal service person once a year in May asks you to bring food to their mailbox so that when they drop off your mail, they'll pick up some food. And they said to Marsha, would you take the food? And she said, sure. And then she said, where are we going to put it? So that was the start of the food pantry. And the community has been tremendously generous. It had a number of iterations, and as I said, I'm a newbie. I understand it was over the Hornet's Nest, it was over a gas station, I'm sure, is that right? Wherever they could find free space. And then fairly recently, in terms of this history, the town said, why not use what used to be the stage of the gym area of the town hall? And we've been there for quite a while now. And I have here a little scrapbook that I'm going to give to Marsha. Most of the pictures come from the transcript. And it shows Marsha and Ted, and one of the highlights or headlines was that in 1997, we served 43 families. That was a big deal. In 2013, we served 170 families. We have increased the amount of resources that we have available to our neighbors because the need is there. And I'm always amazed when there are people who say, there's a food pantry in North Reading? Yes, there is. And because of people like Marsha and Ted who recognize the need, we are now members of the Greater Boston Food Bank. We distributed almost 40,000 pounds of food this year. And we helped our neighbors. Our budget this year, we spent over $88,000. Marsha and Ted were also involved in setting up the Neighbor Helping Neighbor program, which the transcript sponsors. And one of the first years, we have a piece of the paper that says they made $18,000 for that drive. This year was almost $40,000. Wow. So I said to Marsha when I took over, how long ago did you stop being chair? She said, I guess when I turned 80. So this is your scrapbook, and I think they want to take the picture, so.
That was wonderful. Now I have the pleasure of presenting Mr. Richard Giordano with the first annual Good Neighbor Award. I feel like I know him after reading all of the nominations that were presented to the Community Impact team. He's also known as the Mayor of Southwick Road, as mentioned by one nominator. I just want to note that Mr. Giordano received over a dozen nominations, which this award is truly deserved. I will read several quotes from those nominations to give you a sense of this man and why he was nominated. So please bear with me. Mr. G, Richard Giordano, as he is called, is the heart of Southwick Road. He was the first person to welcome us to the neighborhood 5 years ago and has grown into a friend of the family. He is ready to help or just talk whenever you need him. The neighborhood would not be the same without him. Rich has taken a special interest in the children of our community. Thank you. He treats our children as if they were members of his family. He has offered them encouragement and support and has celebrated their successes. Our children have a strong respect for Mr. G and have grown to love him. Without a doubt, Rich has been a role model for the children in our neighborhood. He has taught them to help others and the importance of family. Mr. G has impacted the community with his constant generosity of his time. He keeps all the parks clean in town, which keeps everyone safe and happy to enjoy their sport or activity. His friendly way makes everyone smile and know they have a neighbor they can count on if they need one. We find Mr. G to be a very thoughtful neighbor who is supportive in a crisis and always offering to help if he sees you have a need. It makes my whole family smile when we see him walking Candy, his dog, a friendly face to keep and love. This person writes, I truly believe that this neighborhood has been greatly touched for the better because of Rich's presence. He is one of the most selfless people I've had the fortune to know and become good friends with. It's not the work he does for the Park and Recreation Department that make him special. It's the personal contact he shares with everyone. It is a character trait that is rare. My family respects Mr. G and would do anything for him if asked. The thing is, he never asks. And finally, he always greets people with a smile, a handshake, and always gives you a feeling of happiness when talking with him. He is always willing to go that extra mile to help anyone who needs it. I can't tell you how many times he has been there for me if I needed a ladder, a ride to the auto shop, or just to lend an ear. I feel as though I am always in his debt because of all of the good Samaritan deeds he has done in the past and continues to do. And for these reasons and many, many more, I invite Mr. Richard Giordano to the podium to receive his good news. It's the Jacqueline Bissett walk.
Thank you all. My friends, thank you. My wife and the dog.
I need you to understand, my name is Rita Mullen, and I'm on the community impact team, but the reason I asked to go last is because Mike Murphy and Amy originally told me I could only take 3 sentences. And I knew it wasn't gonna work, because I didn't have time to change it. So I just asked everybody else to please make sure that they spoke a little longer so I could get mine in too. Kevin exemplifies what is good about all great neighbors, just like you've heard about the first 2. So much like we've got a generation. We did the 80-year-olds, the 60-year-olds, and now the 50-year-olds, which is great to do. You understand it keeps on taking care of all the already. Spicer family did an awful lot in town years ago. Moved out of town, got married, went to college, got married, and had 2 children, Mary Bourne, and had Eli and Noah. So he came back to North Reading to finish the old county cycle. Kevin by nature is a doer, just like everybody you've heard earlier here. When he got in town, he got immediately involved in the Aldersgate Church, where he's on the Board of Trustees for over 10 years and served as chairman. Kevin takes that role in stride because it's just something he's expected to do from himself, not from anybody else. Kevin has started the monthly pancake breakfast where he sets up, does the cleaning and cooking. He actually asked what time he should be here to help set up today. But you can maybe do the breakdown, Kevin. As a church member, he seeks out members that are in need. He doesn't wait for them to ask. He hears somebody needs something, and before you know it, Kevin puts a team together. If it's not his family, his brothers, members of born again, or his church people, he takes care of them. As a church member, he is the one that always takes care of the chores, and I don't mean just taking them for a quick ride. He brings his tools, brings his money, brings his equipment, and he sets up and does ramps, roofing, whatever anybody needs. Bonnie, when she moved to town with Kevin, always felt that one day they'd be called upon to maybe help other families and maybe make theirs a little bit bigger. When they were in church one time and talking to some of their friends, they heard there were a couple of beautiful young girls that may need some help, may need a family to live with for a while. As soon as they heard that, they talked to their other two sons and said, sure, this is what we do. And besides all the roofs and everything else they did, this is where they opened up their hearts and took Hannah and Heather, which were beautiful young girls, and added them to their family. So their family immediately went from 4 to 6. And when they became a member, I think Kevin had them sign a contract that if they became a member of the family, they had to do everything at the church, at the school, and everything else. Now that Kevin had more help, he was able to expand other projects. Kevin is also the logistics director of the North Reading Cancer Relay for Life for the past 10 years, and he works year-round in that committee, as does his children. He also works for the Boy Scouts on trips to the side of the Pinewood Derby, and does other special projects for the Scouts and at One Hand Lumber. He deals with all the Eagle Scouts, so when they come in and they don't have enough money to do it, and they just say, well, I have to make a project, Kevin just says, sit down here before they leave. They've got the wood, the project, the money, and everything else they need to get the project done, and then Kevin usually shows up to help them. He's also known in the schools for all the same things. His sons are on track, and they're pretty bright kids, so anything that comes up for any of the other projects they're on, Kevin and Bonnie immediately jump in with their new children, all 4 of them now, and they get involved in everything that goes on. After all his neighborly gestures are completed, he usually takes his family every year on vacation. That's what he does for them. God bless him. He takes them to the main, let me get this right now, the main mission trip, where they all partake in repairing, building, or rehabbing and during the year, he also sells all the trees and the wreaths and everything to make money for it. So the kids just love going on vacation with Dad. Kevin's just your typical neighbor. If you're down on your luck, you'll be happy to know. If you're not down on your luck, tell somebody else and they'll contact him and you'll be taken care of. We thought originally that Mary called one time to help the elderly and just said to Kevin, gee, do you know what, I really don't know what to do, Kevin. I know you're very good at it. This is the person's name. Could you show up at their house with your tools and could you take care of it? So it's when she pretends to just call to ask the advice, we know she's really calling to say, show up and take care of it. Kevin has received, I believe, an awful lot of what he does today from his parents, the Spices, with a great work ethic and moral belief. He married someone with the same traits that he had, which is extremely important. He passed it on to his young children, that if you take a look at their resume and his 4 kids, they all do the same thing in the school, the church, and the youth organizations. And it seems that's what we're all about here today. Thankfully, from North Reading, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I'd like to congratulate Kevin on this nomination and ask him to please come up here. Thank you.
Thank you for the impact team putting this all together. The one thing I've learned from helping people is, one, we get the most out of helping people. It's kind of like when you see someone running on the road, you say, wow, it's so cool, he's out there running. Well, the truth is the runner is getting the most out of it. And the same thing as a volunteer and someone who tries to help the community. We truly get the most out of it. So I love the fact that you're recognizing people, because I think that's the thing we need to learn to do, is spot the good things that are done in our community. See them, recognize them, It's worth it. I do want to thank my family because they do everything that I get involved in. They're and my friends, and my neighbors, and anyone I work with. They all seem to get dragged into what I get involved in. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I just have one quick political announcement. I just wanted everybody to think about years ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe less, when we were talking about getting a community, a youth service person. At the time, we were fortunate that selectmen were behind it, which they were very, very happy, thought it was a great idea. Bob Messeri and Mr. Prisco, when they came on, thought it was a terrific idea. And like everything else, we were struggling with the budget. And at some point, we talked to the police chief and the fire chief, and they understood. They were nervous, thinking, is it going to take one of their positions? But at the time, the new police chief that came on too, Michael Murphy, had looked at everything and said, you know what, we need a youth service director in town. It's not just for the youth, because we heard from an awful lot of people that how many times can you keep giving things to the youth and not to the elderly? And we said to him at the time, we had a plan, and Marissa, which was the group looking for the youth services, said it's not just about a youth service person. It's about a youth service person that can work with somebody like the police and fire department and recreational schools and to tie everything in. We don't want to just keep doing things for the youth. We want the youth to learn from the seniors. We want the youth to learn from the middle-aged people, because sometimes the youth don't learn from their parents. And we had a vision, and we talked to them, and everybody was behind it. It passed the town meeting. We were fortunate to have 3 beautiful youth service directors, Amy being the most recent one. And when Amy came, she hit the ground running. She was a member of Rotary and has been doing this all their life. And when they talked about, Peter did a great job when he did the initial prayer here, when he talked about humanitarians and positive people. That's what this whole room is about. That's what we got when we got Amy, and she tied everybody together and put all the positive things. We didn't find out, we looked at it and said, how can we do everything, not how can we not do everything. So we were very fortunate. We had the backing of, when we got the grant, you can never ask for 2 better people than Brad and Bruce, and we are so fortunate to have them. We did an awful lot of fundraising from Narissa to get to this point, but when we got there and we had 3 beautiful directors that did everything they were supposed to, and you had these guys behind you, and told us what we have to do and what we have to keep doing, I mean, to have them in our corner, we are so fortunate. So I just wanted to take the time to thank them very, very much. Thank Amy for coming in, jumping, and the whole CIT team. Thank you.
Two last things. For somebody who is not from North Reading, I just want to say what a pleasure it was for me to be here today, in particular, to see the outpouring of support, not just for the CIT, but for the 3 volunteers in your community who have impacted your life. That is what humanitarians are all about, and that's a very big, important part of what I try to instill in the youth of your community. And I'm sure as everybody's sitting here, you're probably thinking of some people that you could nominate yourself, am I right? So, I'm very happy to let you know that in June, we'll be sending out the nominations for the 2014 award. We're hoping to perhaps make this a biannual event, but at least continue this at National Night Out, which is going to be in August. I believe that date is on your orange paper as well. But if you're sitting here thinking, I know exactly who I would like to nominate, please make sure that you check the transcript, the CIT Facebook page, the CIT website, because we will be putting out the application for the next round of Good Neighbor Awards, because like Kevin said, it's so important to recognize these people. Sometimes privately, but we'd like to do it publicly. So keep an eye out for that. Is there more food left?
Lots of food.
Oh, lots of food left. Please help yourself. Oh, doggy bags. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great afternoon. And if I could have all of the recipients come up for their picture, that'd be wonderful.